What is a Mason? I am.
Thank you, brother, for that introduction, and thanks to all of those who have taken the time to make an introductory video. If you would like to be a part of this channel, all you have to do is follow the link down below or in the iCards up above, and it'll send you over to whatisamason.org, and it's got all the information for what you would need to do for an introductory video. You can even upload it directly to my website. You don't have to take up any space on your computer or worry about how to email it. You can just upload it straight to my website, and we'll get your video as a part of an introduction to my videos. So thank you again to all those who have participated, and if you're thinking about doing it, brethren, trust me, just drop what you're doing and go film it right now. It takes less than 2 or 3 minutes. If you don't do it when you're thinking about it, you'll come up with 100 other things that need your attention. It just won't get done. So film it. I'll make you look and sound good as best as I possibly can. So thank you. My name is Jared, and I am a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America, featuring today the tie from our Grandmaster here in Mississippi and the What is a Mason lapel pin, which you can learn all about in the description below or the iCards above. It'll tell you all the symbolism and give you an opportunity to purchase it if you so desire, which really goes to help support this show. Today's viewer's question is, how do I know if the lodge I am petitioning is legit? Brethren, you know we have viewers from all over the world. It's really boggled my mind to get comments from everybody from just everywhere. I'm not even going to try to line out different countries and so forth, jurisdictions that have emailed me or messaged me or whatever the case may be. This here, shout out to the brethren over in Texas, here in the United States. Brother there sent this question over. So, how do you know if the lodge you want to petition is legit? If you are a regular Master Mason, you've been going to lodge, and these videos are the first thing you've ever found on YouTube about Freemasonry or whatever, it may surprise you to learn just how many clandestine or irregular lodges there are out there. Now look, folks, I am not the best when it comes to vocabulary. I like big words, and I'm a big fan of grammar, rhetoric, and logic, but I just am not great with remembering the finer details behind the words clandestine, irregular, and so on and so forth. I understand there are nuances, and if I sat here and thought about it, I could get it just right. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there are lodges that exist that your lodge does not recognize. And no matter what state you're in, there's probably some nearby where you live. And depending on what state you live, there might be more of them than there are of the regular lodges. So how do we determine if it's real? I take a couple different approaches. I get messages from people wanting me to help them determine whether or not some lodge they have found is real. And I am a very big believer in teaching a man to fish rather than to do the work for him. So here's a couple ideas. First off, you do have the Pentagraph Publishing book. I really don't expect anybody who's just looking to become a Mason to go spend $30 on a small paperback book that they then have to decipher, because if you're not a Mason, most of it's not going to make sense. You got to understand how to read it in order to use it properly. You could go checking websites, but that also involves the question of, is this the website of the legitimate Grand Lodge that I'm looking at? In most cases, it's pretty darn simple. Just type in Grand Lodge of and then the name of whatever state or country you live in. So for example, you might have, you could search for Grand Lodge of the United Kingdom, and you're probably going to immediately come up with the United Grand Lodge of England. You could do a search for Grand Lodge of Mississippi, and Grand Lodge of Mississippi is going to be the first one that comes up. But I'm sure there are cases where it's not always the very first hit in your search results. So you do have to be a little bit careful. You, at that point, might want to consider doing some validation in the sense of trying to find two pieces of authentication, if you will. So For example, let's say you do a Google search for Grand Lodge of Mississippi and it brings up msgrandlodge.org, and it looks and smells like a honest to goodness Masonic website. Has everything on there that you might hope to find on there, but you're not positive. You don't know if that's really the regular Grand Lodge. Well, see if you can find another authority that cites it. So for example, head over to the United Grand Lodge of England, and they will give you a list of all the lodges that they recognize. And in there, where you'll find under North America and Grand Lodge of Mississippi, it'll be a link. And if it goes to the same website, well, that's pretty good. Now you've got two sources of authentication, and now you can start looking for contact information on the Grand Lodge of Mississippi's website to see whether or not that lodge you're looking to join actually exists there. Next thing I would do is, look, let's just be real honest with it. Some people are nervous when they want to join a Masonic lodge, and because of that, they think if they ask too many questions or if they ask the wrong question that somehow they're going to be barred from membership and not be allowed to join. I have no way of convincing you that that's a unnecessary fear or concern on your part. I would encourage you to look at it like this. Yes, you're asking for membership. They are going to require money and time from you in order for your money to be worth anything. So why not just ask? You know, I would say it to you like this. You go down to any kind of store and you're wanting to buy something. Somebody doesn't just say, okay, give us $100 and we'll let you walk in the store. You're going to want something more out of that. Well, am I sure this is the right store? You know, I've got a store card that says Acme, but I don't know if it's really, this is the right Acme or not. Just ask. Here's what I'm trying to get to in a very clumsy sort of way. When you're going up to somebody, and if you're thinking about asking them, how do I become a Mason? And they're going to give you a petition, a paper application to figure out. Ask them, hey, how did this lodge come to exist? What's the history of this lodge? What's the Grand Lodge that this lodge falls under? There's nothing secret about the answers to those questions, and if they're going to fumble and they can't really quite answer you, I would suggest that that's a red flag, but at the same time, you have to take it with a grain of salt because not all brethren know that sort of information. If you walked up to a random member of my lodge and said, so what's the history of this lodge? I'd like to think 80-90% of them could give you some kind of a coherent answer. But I think that there's some that just don't attend very often, and they're not going to know what year we were chartered in or that the lodge was moved a couple times, the physical building of it physically moved a couple times. I don't think that everybody's going to know that, but every single one of them will know, well, we fall under the Grand Lodge of Mississippi, and the Grand Master of our Grand Lodge is Jason Jeffcoat. Now, that is solid information you can take back and research somewhere where you can actually look up somebody's name. You can look up the title of the Grand Lodge. Again, not everybody's going to know, well, who chartered your Grand Lodge. Not everybody knows the history of Tennessee and Kentucky with Mississippi and which lodges were a member of which Grand Lodge and all that. That's not necessary to know for what we're trying to do here. Get the name of the lodge. Find out what Grand Lodge it falls under the authority of, and then look up that Grand Lodge. Things that you may find on websites, but that you might not, are going to include things like what's the chain of authority, the line of authority for that Grand Lodge. If you find a Grand Lodge that says nothing more than, hey, we went to the state and we filed a business license, and therefore we have this charter from the state, and that makes us a Masonic lodge. No, it doesn't. And I know there are men out there watching this that are members of lodges like that. They think that because the same word was used, that word charter, if you incorporate a company and it gets chartered by the Secretary of State of that business, that's not a Masonic charter. That's as asinine, it's out there now, that's as asinine as saying, well, I have a Master Mason degree. That means I have a master's degree. That means I ought to be able to go be an engineer over here that requires a master's degree in engineering. It's not the same. Masonic degrees are not the same as degrees in higher education, and a charter from a Masonic line of authority is not the same as a charter from the Secretary of State in any given state or country. Okay? A business license is not a Masonic charter, plain and simple. So, if somebody's offering you a business license as proof that they have a chartered Grand Lodge, chances are it is not recognized by the rest of the Masonic community. And while you could join that place, and you're probably going to pay them more money than you would at a regular Masonic lodge, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're going to go through that, fine, have fun. Understand that you're not going to be able to go to any lodge you darn well please, because chances are most lodges aren't going to recognize the lodge where you became a Mason at. So, I hope that helps in some way. I know it's very vague and it's still difficult, but the fact of the matter is, men, if you are interested in becoming a Freemason, stop messaging people you've never met on the internet. You have got to find a Freemason in person, locally, somebody you could physically shake their hand and say, how do I become a Mason? I know you're a Freemason. You seem like a pretty good fella. You're my best friend or whatever. Well, tell me more about being a Freemason, and start taking the steps that way. Just trying to do it online is good for trying to get information and make sure that you're got the best chance of knocking on the right door first. But you can't join a Masonic lodge online. You can't, let me say that differently. You can join a Masonic lodge online after you already are a Freemason. But you're not going to become a Freemason online. I think that's pretty accurate. All right, brethren, I've gone on long enough. If you do need help trying to find out if a lodge is legit or not, I don't mind the messages. Just understand that I'm going to teach you how to rig your own line and cast in the water and fish for yourself. I'm not just going to tell you, yes, that's a legit lodge, and be done with it. I'm going to tell you, go to the Grand Lodge website, look for it here, kind of thing, and send you on the way to do your own research. All right. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch, and thanks for all of those who have made introductory videos or contributed to the support of the show through the purchase of a lapel pin or by donating in various ways to the show. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. We'll see you next time. Bye.